The collapse of hope and the shattering of prophecy is one of the most powerful turning points a story can take, because it strikes at the very foundation of belief. Throughout time, people cling to prophecies and chosen ones not only for the promise of victory, but for the reassurance that there is meaning in their suffering and order in the chaos. A prophecy acts as a guiding light, convincing people that destiny itself has woven a path toward salvation, and the chosen one is the embodiment of that path. When the chosen one falters or fails, it does not just break an individual's journey. It unravels the faith of countless souls who depended on their success. The whispers of destiny turn into doubts. The voices of the hopeful turn into cries of despair. And the collective belief that the future is secured crumbles like fragile glass. This collapse does not happen suddenly, but in waves, beginning with disbelief, then denial, and finally, a devastating acceptance that the story everyone counted on has fallen apart. The collapse of hope spreads like a sickness. Where once people would gather to celebrate victories, they now avoid each other, unwilling to face the collective grief of their shattered expectations. Leaders who once quoted prophecy to inspire their people now hide in silence, unable to answer questions that carry too much weight. Villages and cities that believed they were shielded by destiny find themselves exposed, defenseless, and without the courage to resist. Hope is not just a feeling, it is a weapon, an invisible armor against fear. When it collapses, people no longer resist darkness, but invite it in, believing that resistance is meaningless. What once seemed impossible, the total surrender of human will, becomes a reality because, without hope, even survival feels like a burden too heavy to carry. The shattering of prophecy is even more dangerous than the loss of a single figure, because it suggests that fate itself has failed. If prophecies can be broken, then the universe is not bound by order, but by chaos, and nothing can be trusted. This realization spreads terror, not just in hearts, but in entire cultures, as people question every belief they once held sacred. Priests may tear down their temples, declaring the gods false. Scholars may burn ancient texts, declaring them lies. Parents may refuse to tell their children the old stories, fearing they will grow up clinging to illusions. The world loses its narrative, its reason for enduring, because the prophecy was more than words, was a compass. Without it, every direction feels empty, and every decision feels meaningless. For the enemies that waited in the shadows, this collapse is more effective than any weapon. They need not conquer by force when despair does the work for them. A kingdom without belief is already defeated before a battle begins. Armies disband, allies scatter, and once breakable bonds dissolve. The prophecy, once a uniting force, becomes a curse, dividing people into factions of blame and anger. Some accuse the chosen one of weakness. Others blame the people for placing too much weight on one person's shoulders, while still others insist the prophecy was misread or twisted from the beginning. This infighting becomes as destructive as any enemy invasion, for when people turn on one another, they finish the work that the darkness began. What makes this collapse so profound is that it forces every soul to confront a truth they never prepared for. They were human, fallible, and capable of failure like anyone else. The prophecy was not a promise, but a fragile hope that demanded faith. When it shatters, the lesson is brutal belief cannot be outsourced to a single savior, and destiny cannot be trusted to unfold without resistance. The collapse of hope and prophecy marks not only the end of an era, but the beginning of an abyss, where the world must decide whether it will rebuild from the ruins or surrender completely to the weight of despair. The rise of unexpected heroes from the shadows often begins in silence, unnoticed and uncelebrated, because no one looks for greatness in ordinary places. When the chosen one fails, there is an empty space left behind, a void so heavy that it threatens to swallow entire kingdoms and peoples. Yet in that void, the overlooked begin to stir. The farmer who once worked the soil, the scholar who lived only in books, the outcast who was never trusted, the soldier who never sought recognition, these are the ones who begin to step forward. Not because destiny named them, but because necessity leaves them no other choice. When greatness is forced upon the unwilling, something raw and authentic is born. These unexpected heroes carry none of the prophecy's glamour, none of the world's certainty, and none of the assurance of victory. But they carry something far more dangerous to the darkness: defiance born from survival. The failure of the chosen one reminds everyone that salvation is not bound to one figure, but to the courage of many. The rise of the unexpected creates ripples that challenge the very concept of prophecy itself. When everyday people become protectors, legends are no longer written by fate, but by choice. A farmer picks up a broken sword and fights, not because a prophecy demanded it, but because his family's safety leaves him no other option. An orphan who grew up in the shadows learns that their very obscurity is their greatest strength, for the enemy does not see them coming. A prisoner who once longed only for freedom discovers that fighting against tyranny is the only way to make their freedom worth anything. These figures, hidden in the background, suddenly reveal that the world does not need one savior, but many hands willing to hold the line against despair as these unlikely figures rise. Their struggle is marked not by confidence, but by doubt. Unlike the chosen one, who carried prophecy as a shield against fear, they step forward burdened with uncertainty. They know they are unprepared, untrained, and perhaps unworthy, yet they move forward anyway. Their strength lies not in divine calling, but in stubborn resilience. In this, they become a reflection of the people around them, ordinary souls who find extraordinary courage when pushed against the wall. The rise of unexpected heroes is less about power and more about the awakening of responsibility. When everyone sees someone like themselves fighting, it reignites something prophecy could never fully kindle: the belief that anyone can matter. The enemy, too, is caught off guard by this rise. Prophecy prepared them for one opponent, one figure they could study, predict, and undermine. But it did not prepare them for hundreds, perhaps thousands, of small fires sparking into a wildfire. These hidden heroes do not move in the patterns of prophecy, so the enemy cannot anticipate their choices. They come from corners so varied that darkness cannot crush them all at once. A rebellion fueled not by destiny, but by desperation, is unpredictable, and unpredictability is dangerous. In this way, the rise of unexpected heroes shifts the balance, not by sheer force, but by becoming something prophecy never accounted for: the collective will of the forgotten. This transformation also alters the meaning of legacy. The chosen one was supposed to be remembered as the figure who carried the world to salvation. But when they fall, the story becomes less about a single savior and more about the rise of many voices. Legends begin to weave themselves around these unlikely figures, and people start telling new stories. Stories that teach children that greatness is not inherited through prophecy, but forged in the fires of ordinary lives. These stories become the seeds of a new kind of hope, a decentralized, fragile, yet enduring belief that destiny can be rewritten by those who were never supposed to matter. In the ashes of failure, the rise of unexpected heroes reveals that light does not vanish with the chosen one, multiplies, scattered in countless sparks across the hearts of those who choose to fight. The transformation of failure into a new destiny begins in the silence after defeat, when all seems lost and the weight of despair threatens to crush everything that remains. At first, failure feels final, an unmovable stone sealing away every dream and prophecy that once offered comfort. But time has a way of reshaping what looks like an ending into the foundation of something new. The chosen one's fall, though devastating, plants a seed that changes the course of the story forever. Failure does not erase destiny, it redefines it. What once seemed a straight path becomes a winding journey, opening possibilities that no prophecy could predict. In this shift, destiny becomes something alive, something that adapts and grows in response to human resilience. And from the ashes of what was lost, a different kind of future begins to emerge. The power of failure is not in the destruction it leaves behind, but in the lessons it forces into the hearts of those who endure it. The collapse of the chosen one's mission forces the world to confront hard truths that no single figure can bear the weight of salvation. That faith in destiny must be balanced by action, and that strength often arises from brokenness. In this way, failure acts as a teacher, harsher than any prophecy, more unforgiving than any mentor, yet capable of shaping a stronger path forward. Those who survive the aftermath carry scars, but within those scars lies a deeper wisdom. They understand that destiny is not guaranteed, but built, and that mistakes can be turned into stepping stones if courage does not falter. The transformation of failure is not instant, but gradual, born from persistence and the unwillingness to let despair be the final word. What makes this transformation profound is that it changes the very meaning of destiny itself. No longer does destiny belong to